There we
And
are.
wonderful. Oh my gosh, I love it. Talk about
It was
there we
working.
are. Yay! So this is great. So just hello to the world that's watching. My name is Jackie. I have a little slide here with some pictures because I'm a picture person. I work at the Canadian Mental Health Association in Grey Bruce. I've worked here for 19 years, and a lot of that time has spent in schools. We use puppets to talk about mental health with little kids and going to the classrooms and bigger um, ages. And so, kind of the funny thing when you've been at something 19 years, I've been doing puppet shows. I'm now doing puppet shows for kids and people I did puppet shows for, which is just blows my mind. I am a Grey County girl through and through. I grew up just outside of Priceville. I come from a really big family. So the idea was just not to date in high school because, just the assumption I would be related to everybody east of Highway 6. It just, it just was. And I have one famous relative. If anybody is on Facebook and follows Grey Bruce Stormwatch updates, the handsome fellow in the red plaid is my Uncle Larry. And every Wednesday he does Wednesday Weather with Larry on that Facebook page. So some people know him that way. But more importantly, I was a junior farmer and 4-H. I did all 36 clubs at 4-H before I aged out, and I did all the way through in junior farmers. And there's me. I think that's 1993 March conference, maybe. The fun thing is when people look at this slide and go, "Oh my God, it was me!" I love that. That's my favorite. So there's lots of people in there that we might know. And didn't we all age wonderfully, Darryl?
Oh, absolutely. And the fashion sense, I am
Yes,
amazed.
right?
You know?
Like, look
Yeah.
at my big hair. Look at this. I had perm going on. Yes. And so did a few others.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Um, so, but we're here to talk about farmers' mental health. So, the first national survey of farmers' mental health in Canada was conducted 2015 and 2016 and found that farmers in Canada face increased levels of stress, anxiety, depression, burnout, have lower resilience sometimes, and have lower help seeking behaviors than population norms. And I know a lot of this will not be news to some of the folks listening. So at that time that they did the survey, they found that 35% of farmers met the classifications for depression, 45% reported high levels of stress, 58% met the classifications for anxiety, and 68% of farmers were more susceptible than the general population to chronic stress, which then can lead to physical and mental illnesses. And since the 2016 survey, mental health awareness campaigns and mental health literacy programs in agriculture communities has been launched. So, for instance, we have Farmer Jim on social media doing some really great stuff. Do More Egg, and we very much applaud the work that they've been doing. And then the pandemic came along, and things got a little. Who knew that my husband and I, who shop at Costco, had made ourselves millionaires and we didn't even know it. We could have been buying pizza right, left, and center with all that paper towel we had kicking around the top of our freezer in the back room. And the team at University of Guelph found that the pandemic negatively impacted once again the mental health of farmers in Canada in ways that differed from the general population, but that overall the mental health impacts of COVID-19 on farmers was relatively unexplored. So the University of Guelph once again stepped into that role of surveying farmers and say, hey, how are you doing? So in 2021, the team of UAG once again reached out to some farmers to ask some questions. They conducted a national online cross-sectional survey of farmers in Canada and said, hey, will you talk to us? How are you doing? How are you feeling? The survey included validated scales of anxiety, depression, perceived stress, burnout, alcohol use, resilience, as well as questions regarding participants' perceived changes on these outcomes on themselves during the pandemic. And data was also collected on the impact of COVID-19 on social and economic factors on their mental health, such as help-seeking behaviors, our sense of community through the pandemic. So in total, 1,167 farmers participated in the survey. Participants scored more severely across scales than the general population of Canada during the pandemic. Most participants with moderate to severe scores or any of the outcomes reported worsening symptoms since the pandemic began. Women fared significantly worse than men across measures, and over twice as many women reported seeking mental health or substance use support during the pandemic. The results of the survey showed that the national level and gender specific mental health supports are needed. More of them are needed to help improve the mental health of farmers in Canada. So that is why it was so hard in 2022 when the Canadian Mental Health Association of Ontario and the Ontario Federation of Agriculture made this huge announcement of the launch of Agricultural Wellness Ontario, a whole suite of programs designed to ensure farmers are getting the mental health support where and when they need it. Agricultural Wellness Ontario's new site was designed to make it easier to seek support and increase mental health literacy from a starting point. So Agricultural Wellness Ontario programs currently include the Farmers Wellness Initiative, which is a free individual counseling service. Hello for the free and hello for the individual. The Guardian Network, which is a volunteer suicide prevention network, as well as In the Know, which is a mental health literacy workshop tailored to the agricultural community, delivered by mental health professionals with an agricultural background. In the Know has been now introduced in 5 provinces and has had over 900 people attend it across Canada. So huge shout out to the folks at University of Guelph, the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, Canadian Agricultural Partnership, Grey Ag Services, Bruce County Federation of Agriculture, Grey Bruce Farmers Week. Like the list is so long. For all working together to raise awareness of these barrier-free health programs tailored to support those working in our Ontario agricultural sector. So our goal today is to talk about all of that stuff we just shared, and to help me do that is the wonderful Darryl Boersma. Okay.
Hello,
So,
hello.
how are you?
I'm excellent today.
I'm busy.
Yeah, busy. Yes.
Time in our lives in the last, 4.5 years, it hasn't been.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it seems to be busy every day. Yeah, it has been a little bit crazy around here the last 3 weeks, but it is slowing down now, which feels good.
Just in time for the holidays.
Just in time.
Right. Now, where are you zooming in from?
I am in Mount Bridges. It's a little town southwest of London.
Yes,
I'd like to think we have the best town in southwestern Ontario, but I think a lot of people claim that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Priceville, we've got a really awesome toboggan hill and an amazing July 1st Canada Day celebration.
Oh, I guess I have to head up there because that is my birthday. So maybe I have to come up there.
We pull out the good old, hay wagon and we just build a park and
Well, do you have free breakfast though?
No.
Okay, Mount Bridges has free Canada Day breakfast, so yeah.
Okay, we might have to swap. Well done. And tell me a little bit about who you are. Who is Darryl?
Yeah, so I am 45 years old. I farm full time. I farm about 2,500 acres of cash crop, and I just recently entered the chicken business. So we are on our first flock of chickens in a new barn. So it's been a lot of years getting to this point, and that's why we've been so busy the last few weeks, just getting everything done for the barn. So it's good. My son is in Ridgetown, so he's pretty keen on farming. He wants to farm when he's done school, and yeah, and my girls are a bit younger, but they both definitely help out around the farm too. So
That's awesome.
that's me.
So Lori and Emily, this is why we're late getting the Zoomy Zoom to you. So just so we, because yeah, it's funny.
That's right.
But if nothing else, you and I, we have perseverance.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Perseverance. We do not give up.
No, we don't. No, we
No,
don't. Well, and neither do farmers in general, to be
that's
right.
very true.
Yeah.
It's very true.
So
Yeah.
when we look at these stats and these slides, um, in a way, do you sometimes see your story reflected in there?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. Definitely, my mental health ebbs and flows. It sometimes is ebbs and flows just within a day, and sometimes it's within a month, or sometimes it's a period of a longer time when you're in a certain headspace kind of thing. But yeah, there's not a day goes by sometimes that it feels a bit overwhelming.
mm,
Yeah, it is a bit of the nature of the beast, but being in agriculture, but we have to be aware of it so we can do something about it.
got it. And so when you talk about being aware, was there a certain kind of subset of symptoms that were first kind of appearing that you said, maybe this isn't normal? Does everybody experience this on a regular basis, or is this something I need to be worried about?
Yeah, so um it's actually I've really gotten really really good at knowing when my anxiety is getting the better of me. I have telltale signs that even my kids can see it. They're like, oh, dad's feeling a little overwhelmed right now. I feel it in my chest. I feel like my hands are all over and doing a thousand things at once without accomplishing anything. um and I years ago I used to get what some would call the Sunday sickness. I would lay down on the couch on a Sunday afternoon, and I would be literally sick for a couple hours, and I wouldn't necessarily be physically sick I'd bring up, but
Mhm.
my stomach would be sore, and I now recognize that was just anxiety. Yes, very much so.
Because when we look at anxiety, we look at what the symptoms of it are, right? Like not knowing where to start on things. Our brains don't quiet to allow us to get some sleep. We think of some of the physical symptoms like headaches and aches and pains, and I feel like I got a fist in my stomach that won't let go, and
Yes.
sometimes some of those symptoms and when we look at mental health literacy, if we don't know what the symptoms even are, how are we even supposed to notice that they're happening
Yeah.
to us? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, and it can be tough. Like when there's so much that's got to be all done at once, it feels it's hard to make a plan or a path, right? So
Mhm.
I know for myself, like making a list really, really helps.
Yeah.
Right? Just say, okay, I'm just gonna stop, make a list, even maybe number them, which are the ones that are actually the more important ones, or just so at least you can you've taken the time to focus on the list, so now you can actually focus what's on the top of that list, right? Without being like, oh, I gotta do this and this and this and this, right?
Right.
It's provided some help to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And just like everybody experiences each one of these mental health issues differently, each one of us also then has a very different list of what it is that helps us through those moments. And again, you know, it's one of those that you only know what you know till you know it. And when it's in our lives, then it's like, oh, I should probably try some of these things out that people talk about. And
Yes. Yeah.
on top of making lists, was there things that you're like, oh, that I have found that really helpful in my life and that really helpful?
So when I'm even sometimes before I get to making a list, I will count numbers, and it's not a counting like 1, 2, 3, 4, or some people count to five. I'll count random numbers, like say 28, 34, things like that, just so or sometimes I'll count backwards, and not like, 10, 9, 8. Like, start at 1,000. I mean, you're not going to count down to zero from 1,000, but you actually have to concentrate to think what's after 1,000. Oh yeah, it's 999, 900. Like, you actually have to. Your brain has to think about what you're trying to accomplish. So then, even if you do it for 30 seconds, it gets your mind off of what you're so anxious about. Right? It just forces you to think about something different for just a bit of time, give you a little bit of clarity, slow your breathing down, just slows you down.
Yeah, it sure
um,
does. Yeah.
so I find that one does help. Yeah, I mean, sometimes going out for a walk outside will help, but I find those ones, are better if if I need an actual more of a break,
Right.
like, oh, I need to just take a half an hour or an hour and just walk away from this. But if it's just a short-term solution, the random counting or the counting from 1,000 will kind of help. But more of a longer term solution, is going outside for a bit.
Nice.
Right. And I don't mean going outside to the tractor. Like, I mean,
Right. Right.
right? Like,
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
we can go outside to work, sure, but it's something beyond that, right? Yeah.
Because that's such a powerful tool when anxiety kind of steps in and takes over our amygdala, and we kind of lose connection to those other pieces of our brain, and kind of that's all we can focus on. That's the whole kind of trying to get our brain back onto something else, and back into focusing. Remember, I'm okay. I got this. Like,
Yeah.
I've been through this before, and that's all the different ways that we can do that for ourselves. Like, I know our local mental health agency that supports kids do the whole, like, find 5 things you can look at, 4 things you can smell, and 3 things you can
Hmm.
hear, and those kinds of strategies again get our amygdala, like, poof, kind of back into safety mode, that we can get back into our day. Um, and so, was there certain folks that taught you these strategies, or was it kind of just start at the top and work my way down?
No, I have done some therapy and group therapy in my life, for struggles and things that have gone on. So, in especially in the group therapy, there was a lot of people, the men in the group, and also like the facilitator, that would share different strategies. And the strategies that were discussed and shared were not all that this is going to work for everybody, but here's maybe something that will work for you, right? That kind of thing. So there was some strategies that some men were like, oh, do this, and it just didn't fit right with me, right? But then other ones was like, oh yeah, I can totally relate to that one, right?
Yeah.
um and then even just, like, maybe this isn't for anxiety in the moment, but sometimes just remembering that, what's really important, like, kind of prioritizing that. Oh yeah, I've gone through this before. That part, whether it happens today or tomorrow, really isn't that important. It's just, maybe that was what I wanted to do today, and if it waits till tomorrow, that's okay,
That's
right?
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay.
And cutting ourselves some slack. Like, it's
Yeah.
such a big part of our mental health. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, 'cause again, like, especially when you look at farming, like our to-do list, like, you need the giant post-it notes. They don't fit on the little post-it notes. I can feel like, oh my gosh, I got 18,000 things to do in a, 18-hour period. And oh gee, yes, I gotta fit in eating and sleeping in there.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
right.
And if you don't do those things, then you're really, the sleeping. We can, our diet is important for sure, but yeah, if we're late, an hour late for supper, that's okay. But we do need to nourish ourselves with healthy food. You know, stay away from the stay away from some of the stuff that's the quick and easy, right?
Yep.
It's not good for us either.
And I say there's a differentiation between foods that give me energy and foods that take away my energy.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. McDonald's takes away your energy.
Takes away my energy. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And everything in moderation, even moderation.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Well
Yeah,
done.
for sure.
And I love that you also mention your family, because family is such a big part of our mental health in so many ways.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, kids are kind of like that. They're stressful, but they're not stressful at another time. Like, in the moment, sometimes like, oh, they just drive me crazy right now. But in the big picture, they still actually bring a lot of joy, right? And it's to
Mhm.
remember that in the moment, it can be bad, but it still brings a lot of joy to me, uh, on a day-to-day basis for sure.
That's awesome. And as a family, like we're a network, like we're a collective, like
Oh yeah.
and our family is our supports when we need it, and um, sometimes they're also our inner voice when we need it that are like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Daryl,
Well,
did
they
you go for a walk today yet?
yeah.
Did you have a Snickers bar, maybe? Like the Snickers.
But they do, right? The people that are the closest to us, like, they can feel what's going on, right? They can feel your sadness or your stress or your joy, right? Like they can feel it the second you come in the house, right? If it's if you're grumbling right away, they can feel it, right? But if it's a hey, we had a great day and check this out, right?
Oh,
They feel it, right? And sometimes protecting kids from them negative thoughts is important, right? We don't want our kids to pick up on those things any more than they do, right? Like, you can't avoid it all, but those negative thoughts, I don't think, are great long term for a child's development.
mhm. And, and we talk about, we do a lot of workplace mental health presentations, and we say, one of the first signs of burnout that we can have, that we're feeling overwhelmed, is when we become that Jekyll and Hyde. Like when we get through our day and we do what we need to do, and we're, civil and polite to all those people in our day. And then when we get home, our bucket is so empty, there is no ability left. I got
Yeah.
nothing, right? My tank is done, and that can sometimes be our first sign that we're not doing so well, is even how we sometimes how those things ripple out into our families.
Yeah.
So yeah, well done.
Yeah, and sometimes it's even as simple as, like, just if you need to, just before you come in the house, just sit in the truck for a second. There's
Yeah,
no harm in sit in the
nope.
truck for 5 or 10 minutes. Just regroup your thoughts, settle yourself down, be like, okay, I'm ready for going in the house. I just didn't want to come in that kind of mood, right?
Yeah,
Just that's okay, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes we just need them little breaks.
Mm-hmm. My, I love how you talked about when you said finding what works. In a group, they said, what about this? What about this? I don't know. I have friends that do meditation, and they can sit and meditate for like 45 minutes. But
Oh,
my
yeah,
brain
yeah.
doesn't work that way. I'm like, whoa, talk to me, like, and my husband found me. It was my husband that found it for me. He found me 90-second swear word meditation, and I'm like, and that's perfect for in a vehicle before you like head into a meeting, or
Yeah,
and I'm like, just 90 seconds of just like letting all that BS go. Like it's
yeah.
really helpful.
Oh yeah.
So
This
mhm.
this fall I did a guided hike at the Pinery, and it was just a young lady doing the guided hike. She was a university student, and we were just in one part of the park down this trail, and she was like, "Okay, we're just gonna do a little meditation." And of course, there's a couple people that were very like, "Meh," that kind of stuff. And it wasn't like a huge meditation thing. It was just like literally just close your eyes. And she gave us some bird seed to put in our hands. And she's like, just feel if you feel a bird land in your hand to grab the sunflower seeds, right? So it made you really like, okay, I want to be able to feel this little bird, right? So you
Yes.
shut down all the rest of your sentences in a way just to feel for this bird. And next thing I know, it was like 10 minutes later, and yeah, a whole bunch of people were like, "Yeah, I felt the bird. I felt the bird." And then of course she was like, "It wasn't actually the bird. It was me." But she was doing their fingers. It was funny, but it forced everybody to like to just to stop and just to
Yeah.
totally just, okay, we're gonna just calm our bodies, calm our heart, calm our mind, and just try to feel this bird. But I mean, she totally accomplished what she was trying to do. It got everybody to just slow down and to just get rid of all the other things that's going on. But it was good. It was actually, I mean, the joke was kind of funny that it was her, but it accomplished her goal.
It accomplished the goal, right? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So every single person listening to you right now, Daryl, is Googling that. Guided meditation at the Pinery. So
Yeah, except I don't think it was meant to be a guided meditation.
oh
It
no,
was just no, it wasn't meant to be. She was just like, it was a guided to her for one of the trails, and she's like, okay, like there's lots of birds on this trail, and they like to, come eat out of your hands, and and later on we walked maybe another 10 or 15 minutes, and then legit they did actually land on our hands. The birds did, and ate the seeds. But at that point she was like, oh, we're gonna do a meditation, and we all like quieted ourselves, and then she's like, did everyone feel the birds? We're like, yeah, that was really cool. And
Yeah.
it was her. I'm like, this is awesome.
Oh my gosh. And
But
and that talks to again that helps come in very different packages. Some helps are professional helps and therapy and structured help, and some helps are just like whatever brings you joy
yeah.
and happiness um, and how important that is to our mental health too. And like even the slides again, we talk about the power of community. Like and I think about if there is anything that the farming community knows, it is the power of community and small towns and peer support. And is that a place you found connection to?
Oh, yeah, for some things, for sure. Yes, I mean, when when someone has a problem, definitely the community is quick to, or most of the community is pretty quick to, to definitely be there for each other. There's a few outliers that are just, yeah, kind of, you know, that's just the way it is, I guess. But predominantly for sure. I mean, the rural community is pretty tight knit. I mean, even if I think of like, people that I live close by and they farm, like you wave to them every day, you drive past their house, they pull out of their driveway, you're like, hey, might not talk to them, but you're acknowledging like, hey, I'm here for you,
Yeah, yeah,
hey, you're my friend, right? Like that kind of thing. And I don't think necessarily any other segment of the population or the workforce has that type of thing with people that they don't work with, but yet you're still kind of like, hey, you know, that kind of stuff, right? Like I think it's a great community that way.
and I love that again, like this, the power of that was acknowledged in the Agricultural Wellness Ontario set of programs because they said, hey, here's the Farmers Wellness Initiative that you can call and get that structured therapy and get that structured counseling. But then the whole idea of the Guardian Network is, hey, there is a whole group of folks that um, maybe deliver supplies to a farmer on a regular basis or get called in to fix the tractor when it needs repaired. And they're like, hey, if we provide these tools and resources and training to these folks, then when they are out and about and maybe notice that Farmer Darryl isn't feeling, isn't just doesn't feel the same to me like he did the last time I was in, then bam, they have the tools to start a conversation and get things going. And
Yep.
so all they did was take what was already there and just give them the tools to um, do more, which is
Yeah.
incredible.
And I don't think the shame is the same maybe as it used to be. Like if you see somebody, whether it's another farmer or even the person that's coming to work on your combine, right? If they're having a at one time you would never just ask them how they're doing, right?
Right?
You would just, I mean, you might say, "Oh, how you doing this morning?" It was always like kind of, "Oh, I'm okay," kind of answer, right? But I don't think there's any shame if you're like, "Oh, this person," you can just see they're really kind of not in a good spot today. I don't think there's any shame in being, just saying, "Hey, like, take a break for a couple minutes. It's okay." Like, and just asking how they're actually doing, right? Um, that there's nothing wrong with that because I mean we have the stress, but like the person that comes to work on our combine feels the stress too, right? Like, yeah, it's maybe not their combine, but they can feel it because they're like, okay, this person wants to get back to the field and the combine's broke, and they feel the pressure too. So that's not an easy spot for them, right? Like I think it's um agriculture, we kind of forget about the supporting industries around it, that it's not an easy industry, like
Yeah.
ag retail, like that's a tough, it's a stressful industry, and I think we're all better together on recognizing that and working together for sure.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And when we joke around a lot, like, hey, our Canadianisms, right? Like, oh my gosh, we're the first to apologize. Oh, did I take that spot that you were heading to? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like we do that all the time. Like, that's just the Canadian way. But it's funny how it's also the Canadian way to when we say greet each other. We say, "Hey, how are you?" And it was interesting to read a report that go, not every other country in the world says hello that way. But we've always done it that way. But we've also, as a Canadian way, always go, "Oh, fine, good, right,
Yeah.
peachy, great," like, and give a one word answer. It's just automatic. And
Yeah.
so we talk a lot out and about how important it is sometimes to just ask twice. No, like, really, how are you? Like, how are things? And
Yeah.
I love that you talk about that. How, again, if we think about some of the things that have changed in the last few years, I see that as being the biggest change. That more people are kind of recognizing the importance and the power and the value of asking again.
Yeah.
And just
And
checking in.
sometimes it's how you word the question,
Yeah.
right? Like
Mhm.
if you're talking to someone like, "Hey, how are you today?" It's okay. But if you're like, you know, more in depth in your, like, instead of how are you feeling today,
Feeling. Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Like the word feeling brings more, like, I want to know, right? Like that kind of thing. Just by using a different word will get people to open up very, very much, in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that the truth, right? And because even the question itself gives permission to be honest
Hmm.
in the answer back.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm. I
yeah.
love that. Yeah, we talk a lot about, there's a campaign out of, I think it's out of the UK, and they actually called it, the campaign itself is called Are You Okay? And just saying, like, even they break it down to just four letters of the alphabet. Are you okay?
Hmm.
And it's a really great campaign that, yeah, it talks about how there's some things in this world that, should stay as something that's not in our conversation, but being able to ask each other, "Hey, how are you feeling?" um,
Yes.
is something we should be asking more of each other,
Yeah.
especially these days. We were saying off camera how it just feels like the world is, there's just so much, I don't know, unsettling,
Yeah.
um,
Unrest. It's just,
unrest.
yeah,
Hmm.
unrest within people, and unrest within people's minds and hearts.
Yeah.
Just whether it be governments or, conflicts around the world, or, climate change, or like, just there's so many things, and everybody's got something different that's they're, kind of, some hyper focused on in a certain
Hmm.
way, and it's just bringing the community's part of the world down, right? And it's just bringing our mental health down, right? Like, and it negatively affects everybody.
Yeah. So if ever there was a time to do more checking in on each other, this is that time.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
So
for sure.
so if you wanted to share, here's all the folks at Great Goose Farmers Week that have access to these videos as part of the event, and it happens the first week of January in the big old town of Elmwood, at the Elmwood Community Center, over pie and roast beef and speakers. What is a message you would share with any farmers watching this today?
Oh, yeah, get over there. I think there's something to be learned, and take your spouse with, take the people you work with, um, and be willing to have those conversations. Be willing to have an open heart, for sure. I think it would be, uh, time well spent. Yeah.
I love that. And if you're gonna Google again, because that's what we do, we pick up our phone and ask Siri, "Hey Siri, can you look up whatever?" The Agricultural Wellness Ontario, the In the Know training, is all available this way. And if there's anything I know in the 19 years, is the more I learn about mental health, that actually the more it improves my own mental health. And
For sure.
isn't that so true? And so they've always got trainings online that you can sign up for. I think they're like 4 hours long. They're free, and they, sometimes have them during the day, sometimes in the evening. So they try and find different pockets of time that work for everybody. So, well done. Well, Darryl, I don't know if there's anything we forgot to cover, but
I don't think so. I think we're pretty good here. We're pretty good. Um, yeah, no, I think we're good.
well, I want to say a huge shout of appreciation for you because I know you were so busy, and it's like, okay, I gotta nail them down for an hour. But trying, isn't that just it's representative of the way life is that these
Oh
days.
yeah, and it worked out perfect today. It did, because I don't have to make dinner tonight. So My girls are going to a youth event, and the youth event is providing dinner. So I was like, "Woohoo! There's the best time right there."
Right. Hashtag winning. Winning.
Winning.
Winning
That's
here.
right.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you to Great Egg Services, Bruce County Federation of Agriculture, and Great Bruce Farmers Week. Shout out to Lori and Emily and all the folks in the background who worked so hard to make this week happen. The OFA, CMHA Ontario, thanks for all they do and all they do to continue to support the mental health of our farmers and our communities in general. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you
I'm
for having
I'm gonna hit the sign off button and
me.
have the best January ever.
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 Ever.